'78.
I was like 6 months old. Yeah.
He had just washed up on the shores.
Not even.
Oh, not even. Yeah.
Today, I would have been, let me see. I've been 4 months old.
Oh.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. Is there anybody else here who's a 70s baby other than me? I'm 1970. George is 78. Anybody else a 70s baby?
77, but yeah.
Okay.
But I would have been 4 months old when this song came out.
Nope.
Chris,
83.
I was born in 83.
You know the answer to this, Cap. You just don't want to admit
I
it.
don't understand.
No, I don't like the fact that you guys are all so much younger.
Meanwhile, at 8:03 in the morning on a Wednesday, we call it a windy Wednesday because the great Brian Windhorst, my Colombo brother, joins us now via Comrex Technology. Good morning, Windy.
I'll have you know I was born January 29th, 1978.
Hey, happy birthday tomorrow,
Happy
Windy.
birthday.
Yeah. Happy early birthday.
Wow. All right,
So I just
Windy.
learned George is older than me, and I'm happy about that.
Well, you're welcome.
I am younger than you. Don't let the year of birth change your mind about that. I am 35 years old, just to be clear.
You've got that San Diego glow.
Yeah. That's exactly
That's
right.
what they call it.
That's what they call it.
So Brian, I'm in Cleveland. I felt like yesterday with the squalls and all the snow, I was joking. I felt like I was landing in Siberia yesterday. But the Lakers are playing the Cavs tonight. Darius Garland is dealing with another injury to his foot, to the other foot, not the one he was surgically repaired or had surgically repaired. Evan Mobley dealing with a calf injury for the second time this year. What are the Lakers really getting themselves into here? I feel like they're in an advantageous situation for a game in January, at least on the surface.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavs have actually been playing really well lately. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. But they've done it with playing this super big lineup where they've been playing Mobley, Dean Wade, and Jared Allen as their starters. All those guys are 6'10" or taller. And they've been playing Donovan Mitchell at point guard. And they got this young guy named Jalen Tyson who's like 6'6", who's playing 2, and this super big lineup has been working for them. But obviously, they're taking a big piece of it out without Mobley. So now neither Allen or neither Mobley or Garland were going to be all-stars this year. Last year they were all-stars, so I don't know whether you want to call them all-stars, but they're missing 2 all-stars from their lineup, and the Lakers have been playing, pretty well on this road trip and, very well on the road all season. So, yeah, it's a green light. You're going to need some points to beat the Cavs because, Donovan's been red hot. The other night Luka had 46. Well, Donovan had 45 that same night. Yeah. So you're going to need some points, but without, the defensive player of the year, the Lakers got a shot.
Brian, I don't know if you had a chance to read Dave McMenamin yet today, but he had a paragraph in his piece. It's all about LeBron, his history in Cleveland, some of the greatest years of his career, maybe the greatest year of his career. I think it was 2018, where they didn't win a title, but LeBron had a great year. Nonetheless, the paragraph that caught my attention was this one. Multiple team and league sources told ESPN the Cavaliers would gladly welcome LeBron back this summer if he wanted to return to Cleveland for his 24th NBA season and 3rd stint with the team. So I'll ask you, is that a realistic possibility that LeBron plays on and does it perhaps in Cleveland?
It's on the board. I mean, there's a lot of factors at play. The biggest thing is when this season ends, whenever that ends for the Lakers, whether it's in April, May, or June, what I would hope, but I don't know, what I would hope is that Rob Pelinka would come to LeBron and say, LeBron, here are the options that we can do for you. We probably cannot pay you $52 million, but we could pay you this. I don't know what that number is. Is that number $20 million? Is it 30? Is it 25? Is it 15? I don't know. Or the Lakers would say to him, if you do not want to play for this and play for us, how can we help you get to your next place? And you could, they would have his bird rights, and they could open up the concept of a sign and trade. Now, sign and trades get complicated because it creates a lot of different scenarios and everything. But I would hope that the Lakers would come to LeBron and basically say, what do you want to do and here's what works for us. And if it doesn't work for you, let's work together. And if that's the case, then the opportunities for LeBron open up. If it doesn't work out staying in LA, which I still think is what LeBron is very interested in, and it doesn't involve the Lakers helping him go somewhere else, then you're basically asking LeBron, where do you want to live and how much are you willing to make? Because if he's willing to play for the bare minimum to go play in a place, then everything is possible. The Cavs are not going to have money to offer him. They could, in theory, work out a trade with the Lakers. But, before we get, this is a guy in LeBron who has played for the maximum dollars for over a decade now. And so, to me, the big question is, and LeBron hasn't answered this, and I've talked with Rich Paul about concepts and stuff, I don't think I have a clear answer. But if the answer is that he's flexible on pay, sure, Cleveland is an option. Why wouldn't they take a player of LeBron's ability at something, resembling a discount? That's not in question.
All right. So, wow. So, what do you think, George? You think
I will say this, guys. I don't think, unless the Cavs have this under wraps and are being very secretive about it, which could do, I don't think that they're planning on making a big deal of LeBron's game there tonight, because it's, in theory, possible it could be his last game in Cleveland. I believe he's going to try to keep playing, but and this is also the 10th anniversary of their championship, and they will honor him tonight. They will, I'm sure. Kevin Love was there a few weeks ago, and they did a little special thing for him, and he had a moment. But I don't think that they're planning on a big thing tonight. Like, this could be it, unless it's under wraps. I've asked them, and they've said no. I think that's an interesting decision too.
Yeah, I would agree. Cap, you asked me what I think about LeBron's future. I do agree with Brian. I think he's going to play one more season. And, I think that the board is open, to Brian's point. I don't know what that's going to look like. And, I think speculating now is, good fodder. But I don't know if any of it is is realistic now to discuss, because it just doesn't. We don't know what the landscape is going to look like come summertime. So, Brian, I will ask you this in regards to the Lakers. I know Brad Turner had a story out there today about different players that the Lakers could be interested in. Now, I caution people by saying that just because the Lakers have interest in these guys doesn't mean that the rest of the league doesn't have interest in these guys either. And again, it's easy to have interest. It's a matter of, can you actually consummate a deal? But the story includes targets like Najee Marshall, Dante DiVincenzo, DeAndre Hunter, Keon Ellis, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. Now, I would say this. These are just my quick thoughts, and love to get yours. I don't think the Lakers have the assets to get Trey Murphy, maybe not even Herb Jones if I had to guess, or not willing to part with them. Maybe Keon Ellis, maybe DeAndre Hunter, which would be advantageous for the Cavs because they're above the second apron. I don't know about Dante DiVincenzo, and I would also be surprised if Dallas made a deal with the Lakers again. But just kind of how you feel about those names.
So the Lakers have two different types of trades that they can make. They're looking for a blue plate special, which, that's what they did for this offseason. They signed blue plate specials. That's what Ayton was. That's what Marcus Smart was. I know that they gave them player options, but they got those guys where other people were paying the majority of their salaries. Blue plate specials. And if the Lakers are going to do business with a team like the Cavs or something like that, where they're just offering expiring contracts, I don't have to say the names. I don't want to be aggregated, but which players' contracts expire. Maxi Kleba, Gabe Vincent. If they're just looking for that, they're looking for a blue plate special where they're trying to, take a team that's dumping money. The case of the Blazers and the Grizzlies, they just wanted off of Ayton and Smart. They just wanted him gone. The Wizards, with Smart. And so that's one type of trade you could make, and that's one level of player. And then if you want to actually get a player who's going to be good beyond this year as a rental, you may have to put in the stuff that you did for Mark Williams last year. And so the question really is that the Lakers' actions so far, the way I'm watching it, are of a team that's looking for blue plate specials. That's what Ayton and that's what Smart were. They were short-term, cheap gap fillers, because I think what they are waiting for is to truly find pieces that they 100% believe in to put around Luka Doncic. And their actions to this point have been that they're looking for gap fillers. So I think it's more likely they look for those types of moves. First off, I have not heard that Trey Murphy is available. I've never heard he's available. I hear him mention all these trade rumors, And I mean, every player for the right offer, Luka wasn't available at some point, right? And for the right offer, anybody's available. But I have not heard he's available. And I have not heard that Herb Jones is available. So trades like that, I'm sure the Lakers would be interested in those players, but to my knowledge, they're not available. And so really the question to me is, are the Lakers willing to dip into the draft pick and swap game? In other words, really enhancing what they're offering player-wise with those picks. And secondly, whether they're willing to spend cap space next year. Because, remember, the Lakers are going to have about $100 million in cap space. Some of that will be devoted to re-signing Austin Reeves, and some of that will be devoted to using on other players. And you don't just have to use cap space on free agents. You can use cap space to take players maybe trade a draft pick for a player. The other thing is the Lakers today can only trade one future first-round pick. That's with a pick that they can use. It's the pick that they already traded once for Mark Williams that they ended up getting back. If they wait until the summer, they can trade 3 first-round picks. It's a long, weird explanation. Just trust me, they can trade 3. So it makes more sense to go shopping when you've got 3 picks than 1. And so what I suspect is that there isn't a trade. The Lakers would never say this. I don't believe there's a trade available to them where they can become a team that is going to rival Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. So I think they blue plate special it, hope to maximize this roster, which is the way they approached this entire season. I don't think they ever believed they were going to win the championship this year. I think they wanted to get through this year with hopefully, LeBron having a healthy year and Luka, and then redo their team next summer. And it makes way more sense to redo your team when you've got $100 million in cap space and 3 tradable first-round picks than it does to do a deal mid-season. Now, if there's a player that they can get that they love, that they could bring in and say, this guy's going to fit next to Luka for the next 3 years, and it's worth using a draft pick on him, and it's worth using the cap space on him, they should do that deal. But I'm not sure that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah, and by the way, I had gone to a Lakers-Pelicans game in New Orleans, and George had been talking about Herb Jones, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go check him out. I'm going to go see him for myself. And what I came away from that game was, oh, my God, Trey Murphy III is amazing. Now, that kid is a young kid. He can play, he's a very good scorer. He's a very good defender. He's got a big contract, so it doesn't really mesh with what you're saying about this blue plate special. But
I would get Trey Murphy if he was available and the Lakers could get him. I would do it.
Right, right, yeah. Same. But if you go back to what you were saying, which is that it's not likely, and that they're probably not looking to add that kind of salary, or they may not have the assets to make that trade. A guy like Keon Ellis, doesn't he sort of fit exactly what you've just described as what the Lakers might be looking at for a guy who's on an expiring contract and is a pretty solid defender?
Yeah, but the Kings are going to want something for him because, like in the case of the Cavs, okay, like you look at a guy like DeAndre Hunter. The Cavs are over the second apron. Hunter is owed $25 million next year. They have these other guys these other young guys who are taking some of Hunter's minutes. Hunter was taken out of the starting lineup midway through the season. Like, you can construct a situation where the Cavs quote unquote return for that trade was getting off the $25 million. All right. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Lakers are kind of giving them is they're taking on the money for next year. That's the asset that they're giving him, that they send players that the Cavs are not really interested in, Vincent, Kleba, whoever you want to say, is not relevant. The asset the Cavs are getting is off the $25 million. I think the Kings like Ellis. They would have interest in re-signing Ellis. So if you're going to go and get Ellis, you have to give the Kings something of value. And it's not going to be players who are going to come off their books. Ellis is already coming off their books. So that's not a blue plate special. That's a guy you're going to have to pay an asset for. Now, we could haggle on what that asset is. We could haggle for a long time on that. And maybe the Lakers and the Kings will. But that is a player you're going to have to give an asset for, and then you're going to have to re-sign. When you could actually just re-sign him, if you liked him enough and you prioritized him, you could make him an offer in the summer and not give up anything for him.
Brian, let me ask you this. Brian Windhorst with us here. Of course, make sure you subscribe to his podcast, The Hoop Collective. If you love the NBA, it is must-listen-to stuff each and every week. Multiple episodes come out. So, DeAndre Ayton, it feels like, particularly over the last several games, that he's playing less and less. And I particularly saw in the Chicago game coming out of the half, JJ kind of being demonstrative with him going into that half. And it just feels like the wheels are starting to come off a little bit. Doesn't mean he can't recuperate, but we're getting to that point where he's starting to be DeAndre Ayton of the past a little bit. How have you felt about his recent play and maybe where he stands in regards to rotation as a rotation player on this team?
In 2021, 22, and 23, I had to file taxes in the state of Arizona because I spent so much time in Phoenix. I spent so much time in LA, I got to file in California, and I weep. But it's a little bit better situation in Arizona. I spent a lot of time around those Suns teams. The one team went to the finals. The next year they won 62 or something games and lost to Luka. Luka, buried the dagger in their heart that year. I spent a lot of time around DeAndre Ayton. And I remember almost every timeout, maybe not almost every, but repeatedly, you would see the Suns go into timeouts, and the Suns players and coaches would take turns being demonstrative with DeAndre Ayton. A lot of times it was Chris Paul. Nobody was in DeAndre Ayton's ear more than it was Chris Paul. Sometimes there was like a line. Cap, the movie Airplane? Yeah. This is your era. You know that line where they lined up in the plane to like slap the woman,
she's
couldn't have that
out,
scene
right?
today.
Yeah.
There was like a line, like it would be like a line to yell at DeAndre Ayton. It would be Monty, it would be Chris Paul, it would be Devin Booker, because they all know that Ayton is so talented and so gifted, and they've all seen that he is so amazing when he goes through these moments where he like flashes across the lane and blocks a shot, where he picks the ball off the glass, makes an outlet pass, and then beats everybody down the floor, and they just so badly want to pull it out of him. Eventually, the Suns gave up, and they shipped him off for next to nothing. The team that traded for him, Portland, drafted centers in the following two drafts, and they gave up. The Lakers got him for the Blue Plate Special. This is who he is. He is an incredibly talented, gifted player who at times will make you think, my God, what an amazing athlete. That's why he was given a max contract. That's why he was drafted number 1 overall ahead of Luka Doncic. For many, many years, the majority of his life, people have felt this way. And for many, many years, there's been frustration. So what you are seeing in him is the reason he was available on the free agent market for half of the mid-level exception when he's in his 20s. This is the player that he is.
Yeah, I thought, hey, listen, leaving Portland where you're playing meaningless games, and I say it like that because you're not pursuing a championship, when you don't go to a game because you're like, sorry, guys, can't get there. It's too cold outside. Just can't get there. That's a guy who's not committed. And I thought, coming to the Lakers and being around Luka and really more specifically being around LeBron and competing, I don't know if I'll say for a championship, but at least having the idea that you're competing for a championship, I was hoping that was going to bring the best out of him. And we've seen some of it as the year's gone on, but I unfortunately have to give credit where credit is due. Sedano warned us that this is what DeAndre Ayton is.
Now,
you're
Brian,
buying a $6 million starting center, and you're getting a $6 million starting center.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for, man.
Yeah. Real quick, Brian, Shams just tweeted this. 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline or in the offseason as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him, and the franchise is starting to listen, league sources tell ESPN. That literally 45 seconds ago just dropped. Any thoughts on the Giannis situation? I know we've talked to you about it even as recent as last week.
Yeah, Shams has been on the fringe of reporting this for days. I think he's just been trying to be very, very careful about this, as you can imagine. The league has believed for some time now that ultimately the Bucks are going to trade him. And, the fact that they said his return is, whatever. They said no timetable for this injury. That was an indication that they're going to be open to it. I still don't think it's a slam dunk, but the offers are coming in. The teams have been sitting on the sideline. They've been calling the Bucks and engaging the Bucks, and the Bucks have sort of been half in, half out. The other thing that's been happening is the Bucks have been making other trade calls and negotiating other trades that are not related to Giannis at all in the last 2 days. And people have been like, what are you doing? Are you doing this or not? And so there's been a bit of a drip. And I think the offers are already coming. The teams are coming. Whether or not the Bucks find an offer today or next week that they like, I still think that's up in the air. But the idea of them hanging up the phone and stonewalling and Giannis, going on the record saying I would never leave Milwaukee, I think that pretense is I think what Shams is reporting is that pretense is being dropped, and we're going to actually enter the Giannis sweepstakes phase. I'm not yet ready to say, based on my conversations, that it's actually going to happen, but I do think we're headed down that path.
All yeah, right. and again, in the offseason, more teams can get in the fold, and as you kind of alluded to earlier, even with the Lakers, right, talking about the potential of unlocking 3 first-round picks, so many more teams can offer a much better package in the offseason than they can right now.
True, but one of the things that you can do right now if you're Milwaukee is you can tank. And there's some
great draft,
time we
too.
have
That's
here.
True. Right.
Yeah, Milwaukee owes their pick in a swap to New Orleans. They have to swap picks, but New Orleans has got the worst or the second worst record. Their pick is going to be high too. The Bucks right now, if the lottery were today, the Bucks would have the 7th highest odds. Part of what they can do right now is tank, see where they fall in the lottery, see what they can do via trade, and then offer Giannis, do you want to stay with us? What if we're able to get AJ DeBansa? And you may laugh at that, but there's a scenario where the Bucks could get the number 2 pick. Yes, right. It would require the Pelicans to have the number 1 pick, but that could happen. And so the Bucks have gone through this whole rigmarole and this mortgaging. What I think is interesting for the Laker fan, what the Laker fan needs to know here is, if there is a Giannis trade, it is very likely going to be a big trade, and it's going to involve many players and many draft picks. And it is reasonably likely that it could generate spin-off trades where players who are sent to Milwaukee could be re-available in trade. That's where a team like the Lakers comes in. That's where the whole level of contenders in the West could come in. Can they make a trade with a piece, especially if Milwaukee's intention is to tank? If they receive a player that is higher upside now, they could retrade him. That's why the Giannis trade controls the whole deadline, because it's not just the teams that could make a real offer for Giannis right now. Like the Lakers can't make a real offer for Giannis right now that could actually get accepted. But they could make an offer in an offshoot trade. And that's why there's the second and third level of this that could really have an influence on this year's championship race.
So for the audience, similar to maybe the Dame trade, where the Dame trade sent off a bunch of different players in a lot of different directions, right?
Well, the classic case of this is the Dame trade, because all of a sudden you had the Blazers holding Drew Holiday and they didn't want him, and next thing you know, he's a crucial piece of a championship team in Boston. Ironically, Drew Holiday's back in
right.
Portland, but
Portland. Yeah.
That type of situation could develop. And there's some players that I'm not going to say right now, but if you critically think and you think about the teams that could offer, you could see where there would be a second level of trade.
Wow. So a lot to certainly keep eyes on here, Cappy, with this Giannis trade.
Yeah, and I obviously Giannis's name is the biggest name of all, potential trades. But Windy, I'll just throw you a couple other big names from around the NBA, and you tell us maybe if you think that they're likely to be moved. Ja Morant is one, Anthony Davis is another, and Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, just those 3 guys are sort of the big names that the rumors are all around. What do you say to those 3?
So I think that there's a market for Anthony Davis, but the market is not one that the Mavericks want to engage in right now. Their offers for him are not appropriate for they think his value. And by the way, he's injured, as you know. Mm-hmm. Ja Morant, same situation. I think that the Grizzlies could trade Ja Morant for a nothing package right now just to get off of his money. But if they actually want value in return, now is not the time to trade him. By the way, he is also injured right now. And there are teams who might have interest in those players who are going to have interest in Giannis first, and then there may be some teams that may have interest in the secondary Giannis market before they would have interest in Ja Morant or Anthony Davis. It's just not a good time to trade them. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's likely they get traded. Karl Towns, I think the question for the Knicks is, do they make a Giannis offer and include Karl Towns in the offer? That's the question. I don't think they want to trade Karl Towns unless it's for somebody like Giannis. I think the Miami Heat, George's neck of the woods, the Miami Heat, I do not think are interested in Ja Morant, even if Ja Morant is interested in Miami. The Miami Heat are sure as heck not interested in John Morant when Giannis Antetokounmpo is out there. And so the focus of these teams and what they're willing to offer, like, some other team may call the Knicks and say, hey, we're interested in Karl Towns. And they could say, thank you, we're going to keep Karl. Good luck to you. The Bucks call and say, hey, would you be interested in Karl Towns for Giannis? It's a different conversation. Are the Knicks trading Karl Towns or not? It's what I'm saying. Like, it depends on who's asking what the scenario is.
Good
All right,
stuff
great
with Windy
stuff,
right
Brian.
there.
Yeah, awesome stuff as always, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Have a
Windy.
good day. Enjoy Cleveland, George.
I will. I'll be bundled up.